Whoa.
Woo woo. All right, everybody. Like I said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night to everyone who is joining us on our last and final day, day 12 of our Marketing Cloud Email Specialist Bootcamp. We want to, as always, start by saying thank you for making it and enduring all these boot camps with us. To all of our learners, we want to say thank you to all of you guys for prioritizing your education and for really getting out there and wanting to learn with us. We also want to say thank you to our guest speaker. We always save the best for last. I mean, hello, it's the best test strategies. We're really excited to have Jackie Maney with us. So we're excited. We want to say thank you to her. And last but not least, we want to say thank you to JB for all of her hard work in the co-founding of and co-hosting this bootcamp alongside myself, and all of her hard work, as well as JB, our very swag mother, for all of her support to all of our learners.
And thanks to you as well, Naji.
Yes, don't forget yourself, Naji.
Thank you, guys. So we want to introduce Jackie Maney. She is a friend, a sister, and as well as a 3-time Salesforce Marketing Cloud champion. And she is going to be kicking us off with Salesforce Marketing Cloud test taking strategy, as well as helping us with some tests, practice test questions. You guys, we've made it a long way. We started this in September and we finally made it to the last day, which is today. So there's no one else coming after this. Just a real quick reminder, these are some frequently asked questions. Is this session being recorded? Yes. Will the recordings be available? Yes, they will be. They will be available 24 hours after class, unless we have come across some issues. Where can I access the recordings? You can grab them from the YouTube channel. Where can I access the presentations? They are in a drive folder. And last but not least, where can I get the Slack and communicate? It is right here on this Slack link. I will be sharing this this information with you guys in our Slack channels or in our chat channels tonight. That's it. And one more big thing, you guys, don't forget about the big marketers convention and conference that it's going to be in India this year. This is where you're going to want to learn all about just so many great information for marketers out there. And of course, you guys know who the keynote speaker this year will be. It will be our very own Gilda. She will be the keynote speaker for this wonderful event. So if you can make it, do your best to make it. All right. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Jackie.
Thank you. I was like, okay, can we take my LinkedIn page down? All right, thank you. Let's see. I am sharing my screen. You should be seeing a PowerPoint.
Yes, we see it.
All right, I'm going to get started. This is going to be fun. We're going to keep it 1 hour long tonight or this morning, whatever time it is for you. And I want it to be interactive. So this is not going to go as well if people don't pitch in and ask questions. You do need to talk with me, so it's not going to be me talking, just giving you a heads up. Naji already went over this, but I wanted to call out that although I'm 7 times certified, I have taken 9 Salesforce certification exams, and I only have 7 certifications. I like to share this because I have failed plenty. I have failed AP exams before. It's okay. If you're not failing, you're probably not putting yourself out there as much as you could be. So if you're here because you have failed to test before, I love that you're back, and I love that you're trying to get that cert, because that's what it takes sometimes, and these tests are tricky. So today I'm going to hopefully help you get over that speed bump. But first, I have to say this, okay? Any of the questions that I go through today, they are not from my exams that I've taken. There's, a code of conduct and a policy here that we don't share our exam questions. Promise you, these are not questions from my exam. I found them on the $20 practice exam that's available on Web Assessor. And I've also pulled these from different Trailhead modules, like the questions at the end, or some of them have been questions that we all take for our annual cert maintenance exam questions. So have to call that out there. It's like my own safe harbor statement. So now that we got through that, I am going to jump right into it. So the next slide is my step 1. What I want you to do when you're taking this test is I want you to take your hand off the mouse. And I know that sounds ridiculous and a little bit silly, but the way these questions are worded, there's not a lot of different ways you can ask someone what the CAN-SPAM laws are, or how to find the Journey Builder tab in Marketing Cloud, right? So Marketing Cloud has to get a little creative with how they ask these questions, and they're intentionally misleading, and you have to read them really carefully. And I have this little video. This is the practice test on WebAssessor. So if you've never seen WebAssessor before, this is what it looks like. And my friend is taking the exam. This is the practice exam again, not the real one. So she's reviewing her answers, and she didn't even, you see that she's got her mouse, she's so busy moving it around and clicking the buttons that she didn't even read this question again. Okay, and if we go back, the reason I paused this is because she actually got it wrong, and I knew that she knew the answer. So this is really, really common. If you're going to go through the trouble of going back, take your hand off the mouse, take a deep breath. I do not like to see people finishing these exams in less than 60 minutes, because that means you spent less than 1 minute per question. I get it. You might be a really good reader. That's awesome. And there's plenty of people that pass these exams in, 35 minutes or less. I suggest using at least 60 minutes, and I suggest doing whatever, if you have to sit on your hands, whatever it is, but try to make sure both eyes are on those test questions, because they're very tricky and you will miss words if you're not being careful. Got it? Good. Hey, I know this is an ugly slide. But step 2, I want you to read your question and then reread it and isolate these key words in the question. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to create a data extension which already exists in a similar format. Which creation method should be used to create the new data extension? Create new, create from existing, create from a filtered data extension, or create from a template. Now, create from a template, you might be really thinking about picking this one because that sounds right. But if I go back to my question, they never told me that a template existed. They told me that the data extension already exists. Okay. So you're going to see stuff like this pretty frequently, where just remember what exam you're taking. I have seen email specialist questions that there's something about creating an SMS or a social media post to boost your blog. Okay, we're taking the email specialist exam. Remember that, because that's a right answer in some cases, but that's not the right answer for the exam we're taking and the topic that we're being questioned on. So remember that, and remember these questions where they're just small nuances. So like I said, they didn't ask me for a template, or they didn't tell me a template existed. They said the data extension existed. Step 3 is my favorite in the whole toolbox. As a Marketing Cloud administrator, you have been told about how heavy scripting in the email leads to severe delays in sending emails out the door. The marketing department has asked you whether there is a possibility to speed things up. Which of the below functionality will be best suited for the need? You're like, whoa, I'm just taking the email specialist exam. I'm not ready for that question yet. You don't need to be, okay? You're like, burst sending, I have not used that before. Or sending through Journey Builder, sending through Automation Studio. Whoa, what's the difference there? And then the option 4, do not use scripting in emails. Okay, that's just stupid. Why would Marketing Cloud allow you to use scripting if you're not supposed to use it? I promise you, like 85% of the questions you see will have an answer. One of those choices is going to be so dumb that it makes you laugh. I promise you. And when you find it in your exam, you're going to think about me and you're going to giggle, because you're like, she warned me that they're not like grossly obvious most of the time. It's not going to say like, this email looks like a doc. I mean, it's not going to be that obvious. They're really subtle, but when you catch them, you're like, well, that is ridiculous. I know that's not the right answer. By the way, the answer is burst sending. in case anyone was wondering. Okay, step 4. Look for answers that contradict each other. Again, you're going to see this quite a bit. You just saw it in the last question, actually. So this one says, which statements are true regarding the Marketing Cloud REST API? Again, you're like, I'm doing the email specialist. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not doing the Marketing Cloud developer exam. Guess what? Me either. I don't know where I'm going to start with this question. You will run into questions like this, whether you have been using Marketing Cloud for 0 days or 5 years. You're just going to run into stuff that you haven't used before. But you have to answer the question. So what we're trying to do here is give you the skills to work your way out of a question when you're stuck. Okay, so for this one, which statements are true regarding the REST API? Is it A, B, C, or D? Well, if I look at C and D, this one says they use JSON in the request and the response body. And then D says they use XML in the request and response body. Okay, these are way too similar, so they can't both be right, just logically. So now what we've done is you're sitting here, when you first started the question, you didn't know which ones to pick, but now I've narrowed it down that only one of these are going to be right. So is it C or D? And then I've just reduced your guesses now to 50% chance of getting it right. Okay. And maybe you actually knew that requests don't time out after 600 seconds. And so you ruled that one out and you knew to pick A, and then you just had to narrow it down. Is it C or D? So I want you to think like that when you're taking the exam. And like, if I go back to this question, right, we ruled out number 4. We were like, that's stupid. I can't not use scripting. Okay. And then I'm sitting here going, Journey Builder versus Automation Studio. I really don't think, these are like similar, but like not the same. And will either one of those actually affect the sending speed? No, so just rule these out because they're not related to the question. They're trying to trip you up. And then let's say I've never used burst sending before, but you just worked your way into getting that answer right, even if you didn't know what burst sending was. That's why this is really important to understand how to back out of the questions. Okay, I'm going to pause, just pulse check here. Question, Jayshree.
I have never come across burst sending. So where in the email studio do I find that? I've like worked on the journey. I have worked on automation. I've never seen like burst sending.
Do you mind if we actually follow up on that like at the end? Because I don't have a Marketing Cloud instance I could pull up, but I would just Google like Marketing Cloud burst sending.
Okay, sure.
That's an older question, but that's what I mean. You're going to come across these questions where you're like, I've never used that before. I've never heard of it. But it sounds maybe like that would work.
Sure. No, I'll search it.
Yeah, if we have time at the end, we can go back for sure.
Sure.
Okay. A couple more of these. So step 5 is to look for clues in other questions. You have the ability to go back and look at older questions throughout the exam. You can mark them for review. Use that to your advantage. So this question up here says Northern Trail Outfitters uses preview and test in Email Studio as part of its QA process prior to each deployment. For an upcoming send, a data extension, which is test spring sale blowout, is created for testing. When NTO searches for the data extension in the test data extensions tab, they can't find it. Which 2 attributes of the data extension should be enabled for NTO to use test spring sale blowout? Okay, so the right answers are A and B. The data extension has to be marked is sendable because you have to be able to send the emails out in order to test them. And then you have to mark them is testable. That's going to actually make them show up in the testing section.
But to your point though, Jackie, like this is a really good example because there's something like this on the exam where it'll ask you this question here, and you may not know that if it's sendable or testable, but then in the exact next question, or maybe 2 questions or 3 questions down, it'll say, hey, a marketer's having issues. Oh, right here with the next questions. You're already ahead of me.
So yeah, this is exactly what she's talking about. So 26 questions later, a marketer is unable to select a particular data extension when trying to do a test send. How should the data extension be configured? So the answer is D, select used for sending and select use for preview and test. Now, I know these aren't exactly the same, but the point I'm trying to bring up here is that some of the wording in question 2 might help you land on the answer in question 28 and vice versa. These are from the paid practice exam. I don't know if these are still the questions on the paid practice exam. They change all the time.
How would you have eliminated select use for sending and select use for testing versus use for preview and test? Because I work in data extensions all day. I'm a data engineer for my company. And I've never seen preview and test. I've only seen is testable and is sendable. So I don't know if that's part of the content side or journey builder side that I haven't used. But when I've gone in to create data extensions, I have not seen preview and test.
Yeah, that's on the content side. So if you were like say I'm actually like email developer, right? And I'm actually trying to code an email. Well, if I'm trying to code an email and I want to test it, you want to go under the preview and test area of your email. And if you can't find your data extension, it's probably because it wasn't selected as is testable. The option of is testable and sendable was not actually selected. But that's actually on the content builder side.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's right. There is an option there, preview and send when you're all over. Naji is right.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was looking at data extension and I was like, it only gives you the option is sendable, is testable. So I was just curious how you ruled that out, because I would have picked A.
The other part of these is, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that the practice exam questions that you can pay for, that $20 web assessor one, I think that they were questions that got thrown away from previous versions of the exam because there's just something a little off about how they're worded.
Okay.
So I don't get too caught up on these exact questions, because the point I'm trying to make here is just the skill of remembering that you can go back and that you want to keep in mind, hey, I think they mentioned this like 20 questions ago. I should go back and look at it and see if this can help me land on either answer. I'm going to keep going. That's a good call out though. This is a weird one. And honestly,
Even looking at the other one, I was like, and I remember something similar to that going, well, it would be this or this. And I have no idea if I picked the right answer or not.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't even know what these are, but not to scare anyone. Okay.
Well, I will say, having taken the practice exam you pay for and the actual exam, the practice exam was way easier.
I have been told that by a lot of people, that people will say, I did great on the practice exam and didn't pass the real one. They're not going to give away the test. And the practice exam, I think the value of it, especially if you've never taken a certification before through Web Assessor, the value of the practice exam truly is to be able to get the look and the feel of what it's like to take the test in Web Assessor and kind of get that out of your system so that it's not the first time you are experiencing that program. I'd say that's going to be your biggest value of taking the practice exam, and it is worth it if you've never taken one before. But I completely agree with Casey that it is not anything like the real one. And like I said, I have no confirmation. I don't work for Salesforce or have any ins with it, but I think that the questions that you can buy are ones that they've tossed. Okay, this is a fun one. If you've never heard of the answer, it's probably wrong. The reason this is important is because I have friends who have written exam questions for Salesforce. And they have to be able to prove in Salesforce documentation, like all of the questions have to have a corresponding piece of documentation, like a trailhead or a help article or something that references that question and proves the right answer. It's important because if you've been doing these boot camps and you've been doing the trailheads and you've been practicing the materials that are in the study guide, I want you to trust yourself. Trust that you've done your homework. And even if you've never logged into Marketing Cloud and you're trying to get your cert because you want to show progress in your field, or maybe this is a field that you want to jump into, whatever the reason is, trust yourself and trust your gut that you're like, I do not remember hearing about this and that doesn't sound right. It's probably not right. So here's an example. And I will say that I did have a similar question, and I have, let me just go through it. NTO plans to integrate their Sales Cloud contacts. So this is with Marketing Cloud Connect. How should their Marketing Cloud admin configure the sync of the contact object so that only marketable contacts are synced over? Hey, I'm going to get my little red pen out. Let's just use some of the skills that we've learned. I don't know how to do this. Can I draw like a little, okay. So number one, select all records with an email address, select all records, select all marketable records, select all new records. Let's just use the process of elimination here. You've never, let's say you've never connected Marketing Cloud and Salesforce and you're like, I have no idea what that screen looks like. No one ever told me what the choices are. Okay, let's work through this. So what are they asking me to do? They only want marketable contacts. So they looks like they want to kind of limit what's coming over. Selecting all records is not going to get us there. So let's just cross this one out, right? Because how is that going to help us with the question? Selecting all new records. That sounds super wrong too, because what about historical records? What about our loyal customers? How would we market to them if we're only putting new records in there? Okay. So now number 4 is out. We've narrowed this down to 1 and 3. And reasonably, let's assume that you've never even connected the clouds, but now you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Your choices are select all records with an email address or select all marketable records. Well, man, selecting all marketable records sounds exactly like what I'm trying to do, because they said only marketable contacts are synced over. I will tell this group, I have connected Marketing Cloud and Sales Cloud probably 4 dozen times, and I do not remember seeing this option, but I'm still sitting here thinking about it. And I'm telling you, I've done this like 4 dozen times. I want this to be an option, but this doesn't sound familiar to me because it's made up. Okay. Trust your studying. That's not a real thing. So everyone here, whether or not you've connected the clouds before, you backed your way into the answer. We know it's number 1 because it's the only choice that could be true. Any questions on that?
To support what you're saying, even if you've never worked in Marketing Cloud, all of the reading, have you ever read the word marketable records in any of your documentation? If you have not, then we know that that's probably not a real thing.
Exactly. So like now I figured out how to do the X's. See, look how fancy I am now. Of course, that was the last one. Okay. So who remembers what our steps are? No one?
Come on, guys, let's get some participation.
Come on.
I do, but I didn't want to be the one to do it.
All right, who can name one of them?
Yeah.
Read over
Go ahead. Go CW, I thought I heard you. Sharice.
Oh, I was just gonna say, read over the question, like read exactly what the question is that it's asking first again.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, then you point out significantly in the question what they're asking, and then then take the time to read over all of the answers.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. You and Angela said it correctly. Can someone give me the next step? What is the next thing that we do when we've read over the questions? What are we going to
First
do?
step before that?
I think eliminating the silly ones. So
Yes,
with
eliminate
the
the
criteria
question.
elimination. In this way, you save time and you focus on what's sound valid. So I can pick from
Very true.
or I eliminate two, so I have to judge only two.
Mhm.
Yep,
That's
get
gonna,
rid of
that's
the
gonna
silly
really help
question.
you.
Okay, and then Angela said, look for answers that conflict with one another. Because it
Yeah.
can only be one of those. It can't be both. So very good input there, Angela.
Yeah, and look for keywords. Make sure the keyword from the question, you can find it in one of the answer.
Yep. Yep. So I think, everyone's getting them. We're gonna take our hand off the mouse. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna be careful when we read them because we know that we need both of our eyes and our brain focused on the words in the question. We're gonna reread the question. We already got that one. Finding the wrong answer, that is your best friend. Looking for answers that contradict each other, that might help clue you in on either they're both wrong or only one of them is right. Okay, so use that strategy to your advantage. Looking for clues, and then if you've never heard of it, it's probably wrong. All right, so the next part, I'm just going to go through some quick concepts because these are just common areas that people I've worked with have struggled with on the test. Might not be your weak spot, but it could be someone else's. So hopefully something resonates with you. Okay, I got a couple of these that are just automatically wrong if you ever see them. Anything that says use image-based content only. No. And bonus points to anyone who can tell me why that's a big no-no.
So first of all, accessibility. Second, a good email will be a mix of email and live text. And we're going to have user having turned off the images. So that's like two main points, but that's a big topic.
Exactly.
And one last one too. Gmail tends to make them look at them as spam if they see like a bunch of images. Like that's kind of a red flag for stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it could hurt your deliverability. It hurts. It's not accessible for people who are using screen readers or may have a disability. There's just so many reasons. So if you ever, you're going to see some choices that will mention image-based only. Don't do that. Don't pick that one. It's wrong. I promise. Anything that mentions buying an email list. I'm not even going to ask somebody to explain why this is wrong, because I think everyone here should know that we don't do that. Also will hurt your deliverability, and it's never going to lead to anything good in my experience. So if you see a choice that mentions buying an email list, don't pick it. Anything suggesting, I've seen some questions that say like, oh, we don't need to do an IP warming for this new account because XYZ reason. No, you always need to do it. I've literally never heard of a situation where you don't have to do IP warming if it's a new account or there's a new IP address. Cool.
Or if it's an inactive IP address that a company already pays for, but they've never used, you still have to warm it, even if they've had it for years.
Yep. You got to do it. There's just no way. I don't care if you're Google, you still have to warm your IP. Well, maybe not Google, but we'll go back to that. Okay.
And for those who have for those with the more up-to-date test questions, if you see a button, take notes, guys. I'm not gonna repeat this one. If you see a button and the button has things that are very alertish communication words like right now, immediately, hurry, that's not the answer, guys. That's not the answer. So that's just a hint. We don't want to use communications in buttons that push for urgency, because that's very spammy. That was a test question.
Not on my test because I am not using my test questions.
It wasn't
All
on
right.
your, no, none of yours.
This for me personally, I just could not get this out of my head. Triggered sends. Okay, just remember, these are triggered by the subscriber and not you. I'm going to say that again. Triggered sends are triggered by the subscriber. You set it up, but whether the email goes out, you don't have control of that. It's something the subscriber does, like requests their password to be reset, or they purchase something and they get an email confirming their order, or they fill out a form because they want a coupon or they want a discount code. It's something they do, they triggered it. You didn't trigger it. I have personally gotten tripped up by that so many times, so I hope nobody else does. Okay, sender profile. So this is a screen from Marketing Cloud of like, this is what it looks like to set up a sender profile. And I think this is good if you've never logged into Marketing Cloud before, take note of this. You have access to this deck after the class as well. So you don't need to rush to like screenshot anything. But what you need to know is your sender profile is where you're defining the from name and the from email address. Down lower is where you can also define custom reply mail management. But what you need to know is that the sender profile is setting up who sends the email, the name of the person sending it, and the email address. Sender profile, who sends the email. Now, delivery profile, this is where you can define the header and the footer that goes into your email. This is exactly what the screen looks like. And if you are working in a Marketing Cloud or that has multiple IP addresses, you can set the IP address. Question?
For the header and footer, like if I have one business unit, only that business unit's header and footer would show up, or is there any way, like if my company got another business, does my company have to get another business unit to show the header and footer dynamically for another franchise that we onboard on the same instance, or can we do it like dynamically?
My answer is going to be that it depends. Personally, I like when I set up a new account, I actually don't usually use the account header. Like I usually select none here. And then I create headers and footers in content blocks and I drag them into my template. That's just a personal preference when I'm working with a company who needs a lot more flexibility and they're not going to consistently use the same header and footer. Like they might have multiple brands inside of one business unit. That could be a use case where you might want to set the header and the footer to none instead of using the account defaults. And then you have more control once you're in the email. But also there's a lot of reasons you would want to set up the account defaults because you want to create consistency, or you have concerns that users might skip or miss a step, and you don't want that email to accidentally go out with missing features.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So anyway, sender profile, again, that's where we're setting the from name, the from email. Delivery profile. Delivery, you're thinking about IP address and the header and the footer. And then a send classification, again, this is what it looks like in Marketing Cloud. The send classification is a way to sort of shortcut. What you do here is you can create send classifications so that you don't have to manually select which sender profile, delivery profile, and all these things. If you have ones that you frequently use together, you create a send classification. And the three things that you do inside the send classification are, number one, you're going to mark whether this is a commercial or transactional email. Number two, you're going to define which of the sender profiles that we created in slide 2 slides ago, you're going to define which one of those you want. And then your delivery profile that we did in the last slide. So if you look right up here, send classification equals sender profile plus delivery profile. And then you set up your canned spam classification. I've run into a bunch of questions about the differences between sender profile, delivery profile, send classification. So this should clear it up for you. Okay, so here's what that kind of looks like in a practice question. Which method will verify an email address for sending? Number one, A, click authenticated email each time a sender profile is configured. Okay, let's go back. Was there a choice here to click authenticated email? No. Okay, now you know that, so you can laugh at choice number A, because that is just stupid wrong. B, list the domain on the approved domain list of from address management. I don't have that screen up, but I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, there's no such thing as an approved domain list. Sorry to burst your bubble. All right, now we're at C. Use the domain defined in the account sender authentication package. D, open an authentication email with an individual's email account. Okay, again, D is just dumb. C is using the domain defined, and SAP, if you haven't studied it yet, it assigns the domain. And then if you use that when you send the email, it's automatically verified.
Yeah, please study SAP, guys. Also study sender profile, and just to know the difference between preference center and profile center. Or yeah, preference and profile centers.
Okay. So that's it for my PowerPoint. We have about 20 minutes left. I have a bunch more practice questions that I would like to do together. I want to apply some of the skills we just learned in ruling out our answers and see how that looks when we look at some blank practice questions. So I need participation.
And Jackie, can I hop on for a minute before we get started? Thank you very much. These would be really helpful, Jackie. So maintaining your balance and keeping your mind present during the exam is very important. Don't get diverted by the misleading questions. There are plenty of them. And Jackie has covered all the test taking strategies. Keep them in mind. And I want to reiterate that the questions that we're going to discuss here are not the real questions on the exam. These are just representative of the exam. So you can test for yourself whether you're ready to take the test and get confidence on how well you're prepared for the exam. And for every test, for every release, there are going to be a few questions added to the test. So last May or June sometime, the exam has been updated to include the new concepts, which is the advanced topics like the Einstein, Datorama, DM, and many other advanced release topics. So whenever there is a release that's happening, make sure that you're up to date with the new exam. And mostly all the questions will be from the help documents or any famous blogs, but mostly it will be from the help documents on that trailhead. So make sure that whenever a release is happening, you're up to date with the new concepts as well. With that, I will turn it over to you, Jackie. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. A buddy of mine just took the email specialist exam today. He's been using Marketing Cloud for years, and he told me he passed the exam, but he got a 37% in the Einstein section. So that's a surprise. So I highly suggest studying all of the Einstein capabilities. That seems like that's a more recent thing. I didn't get tested on those because I passed this exam in 2019 before most of these features were available.
Mine was in 2017. And there's a reason we did a complete dedicated session for Einstein features. That was day 11. If anybody missed, go back to the recording and check it out.
Highly recommend brushing up on the Einstein.
Hey, Jackie, so JB already showed the class how to do web assessor.
Sweet. Okay. If you haven't done it, go back to that lesson. I'm not going to cover it then.
Yep, that was day one, everyone. If you don't know how to sign up for web assessor, then you can just go on to day 1 of the class, and she can Jackie, not Jackie, but JB showed everyone how to do it. All right, so guys, because we have such a large group, there are 56 of us, so everyone speaking at once may be a difficult thing. Please try to put your answers in the chats, and I will answer. I will start putting out what answers I'm starting to see. Is that okay with you, Jackie? All right.
Okay, let's just pop right into this first question.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
I sure can. Thank you for asking. Where is my mouse right now? Does that ever happen? Yeah, I lost my mouse.
Remember you said to take the hands off from the mouse when you read the
Okay,
question.
they're up. All right, they're up.
And
Hands are
another
up.
note on the questions, Jackie, I remember you mentioned that these questions cannot be shared as a document.
Yes. I was just about to say that, JB. This will not be shared to anyone, guys. I'm sorry.
These are, but honestly, these are the questions on the $20 web assessor exam.
Right. Yeah, I saw them. That's true.
I just typed them up. But this is just, again, all right. Because no one ever gave me a key to those test questions. So this is just like other marketing champions. We've all pitched in and found the right answers to each one of these. But okay, hands are off the keyboard. Northern Trail Outfitters sends a monthly email regarding updates to their blog. They've noticed that only a few people are engaging with the content and they want to redesign to increase engagement. What's one method to apply to the redesign? Okay, so looking at these answers, anyone have some quick call outs?
What is a quick call out, guys? I do see a lot of A's for the answer, but do you guys see something that is an obvious not gonna work? We don't do it. Exactly. We never use image-based content, guys. So we should know D should never be there. We should already X that out. That leaves us with 3 more.
And then the question is asking me, we want to redesign, okay? I'm going to rule this one out. Promoting the blog on social media has nothing to do with redesigning the email, okay? Send one blog article at a time to focus the subscriber's attention for some more clicks, or create content hierarchy and ensure the copy is easily digestible. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Everyone was right. It was A. We already did this one. Okay. Northern Trail Outfitters wants a marketing email to be deployed to all of their subscribers at a specific time next week. Which 2 ways could NTO automate the deployment? Choose 2. What did I say earlier about triggered sends? The subscriber is triggering the email, not you. So if I already know next week what time this is going to happen, this isn't right. I can't see the chat. So gee, if people are talking or
Everyone's giving me B, everyone's giving me C.
okay, so we're feeling pretty good about B. I think
We're feeling very good about C, but we got some confusion about C and D.
Okay, so let's work our way through this. Everyone agrees it's B, so we're good here. So now we're just narrowing it down between C and D. Which one is right?
And this is a common thing that happens, guys. Remember, there's always going to be something that seems very close and we're just not sure if it's C or D.
Any thought? Like,
I don't think script activity is valid. Sounds like really fishy.
I've never heard of send flow.
Okay, that's fair. Anyone else? Has anyone heard of send flow?
I would associate with the workflow more than send flow.
Like I said, I think a lot of these have been questions that have been thrown away. All right, I don't want to waste too much time. The correct answer is use Zenflow in Email Studio.
I will choose that too.
It's just a way that if you Google that one, it's just kind of that's what sometimes it's referred to. It's not my favorite label, but moving on. Northern Trail Outfitters, that's kind of split. Let me just. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to send an automated second email to subscribers who engaged with the original email. Which sending method should they use?
I'm getting a lot. I'm getting D so far.
What are we getting?
I'm getting D from a few people. Yep, I'm getting a few Ds. Everyone's saying D. I feel like this one, people really took the time to read because the answers kind of came in a little slowly.
Okay. If you're wondering, like, you can't do an engagement split in Automation Studio, so that's the dumb answer. Sorry, I'm sorry. If someone selected B, I'm not calling you dumb, I swear. But that's the first one I would rule out, but it is D. Okay, what occurs when a subscriber master unsubscribes? Couple of A's, couple of C's. Got a B. Okay, so the correct answer actually is C. And if you want to know this one, actually I have a link for, I'm going to drop it in the chat. If you didn't get this answer right, use the Salesforce help article that I just posted in the chat.
Thank you for posting that.
Okay, Northern Trail Outfitters is sending a critical notification to members of its rewards program, and they really want the call to action to command attention and action to all who receive email. Which two best practices could be used to make the CTA stand out?
What do we know we shouldn't do?
Oh, gee, don't say that. Not on this one. This one is, I hate this question for that reason.
I'm more so
Shouldn't
talking
use
about
strong verbs and language.
don't use that big red button.
Don't use red buttons with black text. That is the automatic wrong answer. Do you know why? Because ADA, the color ratio, that's way too hard to read.
Yep.
So all right. You have a really good chance now of getting this right because we already ruled D out. And so everyone's feeling really good about A.
It's
Okay,
good.
so now we just have to narrow it down. Why borders on buttons or use strong verbs in language?
Now, because this one says critical notification, this is a critical notification.
So then it's C.
It is C. And
Yeah, because this is a critical comms.
here's the, I know G said that earlier, but check out that link. The one that I just posted in the chat, this one, they love to pull questions from this. Read it. It's a good one. I like it all the time. I mean, I like reference it all the time still. Okay. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to automate data feeds into Marketing Cloud, and they're trying to set up data import activities that kick off automatically once a file is placed on the SFTP on a recurring nightly basis. What type of automation could be the driver of this data import setup? All right, we got a lot of B's, one A. So a data event automation, that's not a thing. At least that I'm aware of. The answer is B.
If you guys are, don't forget to definitely study the difference between file drop and schedule automations. Those are definitely used in the test.
Okay. Oh, this is another one where my answer is split. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to automate the exporting of engagement data for all sends into their data warehouse. Which tool would they use?
I'm seeing a lot of C's.
It is C, but this is the help article that aligned. I just put it in the chat. I think that at some point in the last 2 years, they've like slightly renamed it to now it's called tracking extract output. So if anyone was tripped up on that, I think it's because the name has changed and this question is from 2 years ago. So check that link that I sent. Okay. Where are we? Oh, Northern Trail Outfitters is a new Marketing Cloud customer. They have not yet completed the IP ramp up process. Which 2 activities should they focus on? Okay, C, real popular. Yep, we know C is one of the right ones. Someone said not D. Good call. Not D. And sending re-engagement messages, that's the one I would pick out as the immediate wrong answer. Reason I say so is because a re-engagement message is for somebody who hasn't engaged recently and we're trying to get them to re-engage. Those are the last people I want to email during IP warming. I want to email people who I know are going to open my stuff. So B is the correct answer. Okay, send classifications. Yay, we just covered this. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to customize a send classification to personalize the from name and the from email address. They also need to verify the IP address used for sending. Which 2 tools should be used to create the send classification? If any of y'all get this wrong, I mean, I'm going to ask what you were doing 20 minutes ago. Unless you were checking the score of the Eagles game for me, someone could definitely let me know what it is. I am dedicating myself to you all and not watching the game. Okay, A and C, bless your hearts. Thank you for not upsetting me. Correct.
It's tied 14-14.
All right, could be worse. We were losing when I signed in, so. Jackie's happy.
It's still
Okay.
the top of the third quarter too.
We got time.
At the top of the quarter is a baseball thing, but there's still 11 minutes in the third quarter.
I would just, JB and Najee, I don't know what you were thinking doing these classes.
Sorry,
during
really sorry.
But whatever.
And it's 1st and 10 at the Philly 20-yard line.
Okay. Number 11, when using a mobile optimized template, which 2 items cause the mobile layout to display? Choose 2 answers.
Make sure you guys are looking at the words that they're giving you in the question. We're not just looking for any type of email layout. We're looking specifically for mobile layout.
All right, let's look at the wrong answer, okay? Here's something I've never heard of, but sounds really cool. We know this is wrong because
Yep.
this is not real. So we're crossing this one out. Oh, sorry, someone said A. But okay, yeah, subscriber attribute that dictates a mobile layout preference. If you haven't been in the system before, I could see why you would pick this one. that's not an attribute. There is an attribute that a subscriber will have HTML emails versus text only emails. So that's why some of you might have thought that A was right, because you can distinguish between HTML and text, but there's not a specific thing where people would say what kind of mobile layout they want.
And look at the question, when using a mobile optimized template, which two items cause the mobile layout to display? So what would have to happen to see how the device looks on a phone? It would need to become the size of a phone. So you're going to have to change the screen size so that the screen size is the size of a mobile device. And there's no, I mean, they have the preview for, you can check that, but there's no tracking portal. I don't think that's a real thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen
I've
it.
never heard of it either. So the correct answer is B and D. But full disclosure, folks, I don't pretend to know all of these things. I certainly don't. Nobody on this call does. If you think you have a better answer, you might. Again, like I said, things change all the time. We're constantly learning. So I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that I know every single answer. I don't. Okay, Northern Trail Outfitters is setting up a new business unit. The requirements for the new implementation have been defined. Okay, y'all, how are you answering? I didn't even finish reading the question. Frequent sends of audiences greater than 500K. Okay, those of you that have been studying, you probably hit on this one. The audience is greater than 500K, which we know automatically excludes us from subscriber lists. So I was quickly able to identify that that's wrong.
Data sync is not, I don't think that's a list. Or
Yeah.
We have
So-
group application lists or data extensions and lists.
If you haven't yet studied this, I want you to take a peek at this help article. So this is when to use Email Studio lists versus Email Studio data extensions. This is a very, very important help document to read through. In the chat. All right, what should a marketer do to edit an approved email? Okay, so got a couple people selecting A. Now, A would work. You could create a copy of an email and then you can edit that copy. But I want you to put your thinking caps on and ask yourself, is this what Salesforce is really trying to test us on and ask us to do? Like, I know I could get around this by creating a copy of the email. So that's A will work. For those of you that selected A, you're not wrong. But that's not the answer that Salesforce wants for this question.
Also think about this. If the email was already approved and you create a copy of it, that's a brand new email.
Mhm.
So that's not the approved email anymore. That's a whole brand new email that has to go through a whole new approval process. So that's not what they're asking of us. They're not asking if you need to create a new email.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm not going to I'll kill the suspense. The answer is B. And I don't know about you all, but a lot of my clients, they don't use email approvals in Content Builder. So this is an area that just is kind of sticky if you haven't been in and out of it. So in the chat, I am posting this article. These are Content Builder approvals considerations. So says right there in that list, the answer to this question. Okay, I think this is the last, we're going to do this as the last one. Northern Trail Outfitters wants to ensure their customers receive emails about products that interest them. Which two options would allow for the creation of personalized emails?
Feel free to look at what you already know is not the answer.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go right for this last.
Never say anything about a landing page. Never
We
ask.
asked for creating personalized emails, and this one went right to a landing page. So this is just a no. Okay, we're not gonna go with this one. While this might be cool and interesting, it's not applicable to the question we're being asked. And then, okay, they asked us about a personalized email. Choice B is just telling me to put so much stuff in there that there's something for everyone. So that's not personalized at all. It's like the Cheesecake Factory menu where they're like, probably somebody is gonna find something on here because there's 100 different menu items. That's not personalized. That's just too much. Okay. So even if you don't even know what A and C are, you already got the right answer because you just knew B and D were wrong. And somebody laughed at my Cheesecake Factory joke. So that is, we're going to end there. I mean, I can't top that. That's it. That's all I've got for tonight. I hope that this was useful to you.
This was fantastic. Thank you. And
You
it's
did
so
awesome. And I'm
important.
wearing my Eagles apron. So
And yes,
Thanks a
I
lot,
agree.
Jackie.
People in the
This
chat
is-
are saying the real exam was harder. It is. It is, but you've got this.
you do.
You do.
And remember, everyone, the main intention of the bootcamp is to help you understand the concepts in depth and help you overcome your fears as well, to be confident. So this test is just like a extra support, but make sure that you really know the ins and outs of the marketing cloud, and we are there for you. And if you have any questions, we are still reachable on the Slack channel. So stay focused, and we wish you all the good luck for your test.
Keith,
Anything
I did
else
just
you want to add?
Keith, I did just put, personally, Datarama is something that I'm working on right now. So I have been using the Trailhead and I've found them to be really valuable. How tough are the questions on the actual exam compared to these questions? Some of them are harder, not gonna lie.
It really, really pays to do the reading. Read your Salesforce documentation, like watch these videos and their questions. If you fail, remember that the smartest people have failed. So that means it's not failing, it's just you gathered a learning opportunity to learn what you should work on. So
yeah, it's either you earn or learn. If you don't earn the certification, you're definitely
I love that.
learn more.
That's great. You earn or you learn. Hey, that's it. You earn or you learn. To those who were not here for the earlier part of the session, JB mentioned that day 8 was she's trying to find a different venue to load it on because YouTube is not allowing her to upload the video for day 8 because there was some personal identifiable information on the video, and so we have to be careful of people's privacy. We didn't see what it was.
Yeah, the questions will not be shared. I see people asking for the questions. The questions will not be shared, but this recording is going to be shared. And I have one other information to share on the exam. There are a set of questions that the Salesforce has, a pool of questions. So the first time you're taking the test, you may get a 60 questions, a set of 60. And then when you are retaking the exam, you may find completely new questions than the ones that you have already seen in the first time exam. So you may not get the same questions again on your retake. And we are going to share all the recordings and the slide decks, and everything will be linked one more time on the Slack channel. So you can go back to the Slack channel and find all the resources in there, and any questions, we're there to help. And I think that is it for today. Any other questions we see, Nachi?
Thank you for everything you've done, JB. Thank you so much, Jackie, for ending our night. It was a good
Thank
night.
you
And
as
thank you,
well.
Gilda, for all of your support for our boot camp. This concludes our boot camp. You guys did a great job. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone, and we wish you all the good night. Good luck. Bye.